Want to close that?
All right, good afternoon, everyone. We'll get started with the Q&A. We have two folks in the room that we'll start with, and that's Arvelis Bonilla Ramos with Bloomberg.
Oh, sure. Thank you. I'm sorry, this question's for Sarah. I was just wondering, the FAA has been taking some steps to address the ATC tech problems at the Philly TRACON. How confident are we, or how y'all, that those steps will be effective? And will that sort of like push Newark to, take additional steps to sort of like, consider those risks of technology and what those outages sort of like disrupt, or could sort of like disrupt later operations during the summer, during the peak summer traveling time? Yeah.
Sure. So in terms of the efforts that the FAA is making to improve the technology and the staffing across their system, the Port Authority is fully aligned with what the measures that they are taking, and we remain excited to continue to support them in those efforts. In terms of Newark specifically and the efforts to get back to full capacity, right now what we know is that the FAA has worked with the airlines and the Port Authority to take a safe, measured approach to reduce operations in two tranches. The first one now through June 15th, and the second one from June 15th through October 25th. Those two dates will allow FAA time to make investments and to bring staffing up to levels, and we will be engaging with them to understand what we can expect post-October 25th.
So these cut-in flights and these, tech sort of like upgrades that FAA is doing, and also what's happening in Newark with the hour rate sort of downgrade, will these alleviate? What does it mean? Does this mean for the summer when people are traveling, and how this is going to ensure air traffic and passenger flow during those times?
Yep, so Newark obviously has experienced multiple delays, multiple cancellations a day. These efforts that were taken by the FAA and the airlines were taken with an intention to safely reduce operations on a day-by-day basis, which should have a positive impact and reduce the number of unplanned cancellations and reduce the amount of delay.
So, but are we worried that this is gonna sort of impact at all, or are we just like really sure that this will is the next best step?
The analysis that was done was based on modeling of what capabilities exist with the existing staffing and the technology, and so that is the intention, is to reduce that impact.
Okay, appreciate it. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Very much. Next question is Ramsey Khalife with WNYC and Gothamist.
Appreciate it. Also a question for Sarah, but I have a second question. Not sure who it's targeted for, so I'll just ask it first.
No problem.
There's still delays every day at Newark. You look at average delay times, at least at the FAA advisories, around 75 minutes today. It kind of hovers around that number, particularly because, I know the Port Authority and the FAA is addressing the tech, and that's more long-term, but there's also ongoing roadway construction. Can you just speak to the status of that project, and how did that factor into that reduction timeline that was provided both today and specifically on May 20th?
Sure. So just correction, assume you mean runway construction.
Yes.
So the Port Authority has been planning this runway for rehabilitation for well over a 2-year period. In preparation for the runway rehabilitation, we did ask the airlines in cooperation with the FAA to reduce their schedules. The construction project has occurred as planned and is on or will be delivered on or before schedule. And we are working closely with the FAA to determine the benefit of delivering the program early to see if we can get the capacity maximized with a return before June 15th.
And that deadline for that construction, you said it's a 2-year period. When was that originally supposed to finish up?
The construction itself, the closure, the whole project, the runway project is an entire year-long project. It started in March 2025 and will not complete until early 2026. But there is a 60-day closure that was planned to allow for the maximum amount of paving to be done in the early summer months. And so that started April 15th and will conclude June 15th.
Okay, my second question is more general. I've been trying to find this answer, but I thought I'd ask the Port Authority. Specific to the Cuauhtémoc Mexican Navy tall ship that collided or struck the Brooklyn Bridge. There are, I believe they're called harbor pilots. I was just trying to clarify if anybody could explain if harbor pilots in the New York and New Jersey harbors are employees of the Port Authority, or are they employed by another entity? Does anybody have an answer to that?
I think the answer is no, but we're gonna have Beth Ann Rooney from Ports call you back directly and answer
Okay,
that specifically.
that'd be great. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Move to our virtual questions. First one is Colleen Wilson with the record. Colleen?
Thank you. First question is for Sarah about the Newark Airport. Given the extreme consequences and business consequences that the issues with the air traffic controllers and the TRACONs and the technology upgrades and needs, given how that is having an effect on the Port Authority and Newark Airport's, business opportunities, basically, and business profits, does the Port Authority have any ability to have any oversight over the FAA in this matter? I'm just wondering, I guess, what kind of recourse does the Port Authority have to kind of hold the FAA's feet to the fire to make sure that they are doing the proper, infrastructure upgrades, that they have the proper staffing, that they have, that they're meeting and doing what they say that they're supposed to be doing?
Thanks for the question, Colleen. The FAA is the regulatory body that oversees aviation activity across the United States. And so the Port Authority does not have jurisdiction at all over the FAA. However, we are a partner with the FAA, and the measurements that have been taken by the FAA to safely return Newark in a measured manner to address this emergent issue on their part, we fully support, and we remain fully we remain committed to work with them to reestablish full capacity at Newark.
Thank you. My second question is about PATH. Want to get a response to obviously all the questions that are, and concerns that were posed, but specifically Mayor Bala from Hoboken wanted to have deadlines set for increasing PATH service on off-peak and weekends. And I just want to hear from the Port Authority whether or not they plan to do that, and obviously respond to his questions for those deadlines or timelines.
So I believe the deadline in terms of the Path Forward program was communicated as ending in April of 2026, but we will confirm that. We're on schedule to deliver that. The other questions we'll look into specifically, but in terms of the main question of when we'll be done with Path Forward, it's April of 26.
Yeah, I think
Jim Heitman.
sorry. I think my understanding of his questions weren't so much about Path Forward. I don't think. I think they were more hoping that the Port Authority would provide a specific timeline when they would expand the off-peak and weekend. And I guess, will the Port Authority, provide that sort of information or a commitment to that?
Yes, is the answer. We do a lot of the outreach, so we've been out talking about when we do a specific amount of construction on a particular line, how that service will be impacted, and then once we get back, when and how it will be restored. In terms of the broader question about increased service on the weekends and overnight, that has more to do with required maintenance windows than it does with our ability to increase those services. We're looking into it, we're studying it, we're looking to take some more dramatic steps to see how and we can do that, but we're in the middle of that analysis.
Thank you.
Next question is Larry Higgs with NJ Advanced Media.
Thanks. And the first question I have is for Sarah about Newark Airport. It's a bifurcated question. What are the financial effects of the FAA's flight reductions on the authority's revenue stream from aviation? And how will the authority compensate businesses in the airport, specifically retailers, for the loss of business and foot traffic?
Thanks for the question, Larry. So the impact on the revenue to the Port Authority is still being evaluated. The customers, our revenue for the aircraft operations is based on the number of customers and the amount of weight the aircraft carry. Airlines are making determinations about how they are going to achieve the reductions that are required by the FAA, and that will, as time goes on, we will be able to understand what the potential impact is. And at that point, at this point, we have not considered what would occur with the other business partners on the airport, but we are cognizant of making sure that we stay close to the issue and make sure that we keep everybody informed in terms of impacts and what processes may change moving forward.
Thanks. And, a follow-up question.
Rick, I just reported this at our meeting, and I think it's important to put this in context. April of this year was the third busiest April that the Port Authority has ever had. So the big picture is that people are traveling. Our airports are enormously busy. It is still a problem that Newark is down in the single-digit percentages. But the big picture is that people are traveling. Our volumes are very strong. But as you've heard repeatedly from Sarah, there's a big focus on working with the FAA on restoring flight levels at Newark.
Thanks. And a follow-up question. So how is this going to impact travelers? How are you going to handle this increasing volume, or are people going to shift to other airports?
So, Larry, I think the best impact that will come out of the FAA's order that was issued on May 20th, confirming the reductions, is that we should stop seeing the last minute cancellations due to FAA staffing challenges. And that should allow people to best plan for what they need to do. I will just note that in terms of flying in and out of Newark, the operation remains very safe, and the airlines, the Port Authority, and the FAA are committed to ensuring we provide reliable service at Newark through the summer.
Next question is Peter Gill with Newsday.
Hi, thanks. I have a couple of questions just for Sarah, I think, as well. First, I was wondering, given the plan to reduce operations at Newark, is there any plan to increase operations at other area airports like LaGuardia and JFK? And if so, or if not, why not?
So Kennedy and LaGuardia are what's known as level 3 slot controlled airports, meaning that the airport's capacity is dictated by a certain number of operations per hour, and the slots are allocated in a collective process by the FAA. So it's not likely that additional activity will occur at those airports as a result of the Newark issue, but what may happen is larger aircraft across our enterprise carrying more passengers with the reduced number of flights impacting Newark.
Okay, thanks. And the other question I had was, you mentioned in your presentation earlier that the air traffic control at Newark was shifted from being based on Long Island at Westbury to Philadelphia, and the FAA has said that the failure in the communications line was the line between Westbury and Philadelphia, because rather than creating a line from Newark to Philadelphia directly, it went from Newark to Long Island to Philadelphia. And I wanted to ask if you think it was, in hindsight, a good idea to shift the responsibility over to Philadelphia from Long Island.
So we absolutely know that the FAA now has made the decision as of July 2024 to relocate the controllers for Newark from Long Island to Philadelphia. That decision was made unilaterally by the FAA, and the Port Authority was not given opportunity to opine on that. And so at this point, we remain ready to support the FAA in safely restoring full capacity at Newark with required technology upgrades and staffing improvements.
Last question is John Beers with AFP.
Tom, is that it?
John, we unmuted you. Can you hear us? All right, John, you could submit your question to us after this. We're happy to try to answer it. That concludes the Q&A. Thank you, everyone.
You get Beth and the call. Yes. All right. Great. Sarah, well done.